This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 46.
Welcome to the show that focuses on helping real estate agents build a bulletproof business plan so that they can sell more properties in less time and live a more fulfilled life.
Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan to help you get there? Well, then you're definitely in the right place. Hey, I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. And to help you take immediate action to build a better real estate agent business, whether you're a rookie just getting started and want to build one, or you're a veteran, I've created this free jumpstart course, which is a great wireframe for you, and I want to give it away to you. It's digital, it's access for life, and it's over at freeagentgift.com, freeagentgift.com. Get over there, take a look through, and get yourself wired correctly so that you can build a business that matters to your life, okay? All right, let's get started. In this episode, what I want to cover is the danger of calling it a buyer's or seller's market. Okay, the points I want to go over is number one, why naming the market is dangerous at all. Is there really a shift in power when things change? How any seller properly prepared has leverage still, no matter what the market is. And for agents, it's always a buyer's and a seller's market. You need them both. Okay, so let's go through these points here. The first one, why naming the market is dangerous, is because you get yourself pigeonholed into a mindset that takes you to a position where I believe that it's like the tail wagging the dog. Okay. And what I mean by that is all of a sudden, all these opinions from the outside, they start to come at you and you start to say what the folks that are on the outside, the generalists are saying, oh, it's a buyer's market and it's a seller's market. You hear the agent down the street or some coach from the platform calling it this. Look, it's just a really dangerous thing to do if you're a real estate agent. Why? Because you're a business person. And in order to grow a business, you're going to need buyers and sellers. So if you all of a sudden believe that in one moment, it's all about buyers and nothing about sellers, and then you're over to sellers, you see where we're going? I mean, all of a sudden we're running around after this and that, and we forget the responsibilities of building a sensible business. Why do you think I give away the wireframe over freeagentgift.com? Because it is a reminder to go through the steps that keep you rooted as a business person. Every time you start to act like it's a job and you get desperate for the next check, well, this is precisely what happens. Somebody calls it this type of market, you abandon everything that you have going on. Let me just make a point here, okay, about a marketplace. Think about it. In the worst of times, where everybody's calling it a buyer's market, hello, what are those buyers actually buying? They're buying listings that are priced right. Sure, there might be a conglomeration of REOs, real estate owns or bank owns, and short sales. Sure, there might be an uptick in that stuff, but there's plenty of stuff that sells at retail. It's just a shift in pricing. See, no matter what, as long as there's a sale, a buyer and a seller showed up all the time. So when somebody says it's a seller's market, a buyer still pays the price. They're interested. They call it a buyer's market, right? The seller gets there and you get it, right? I'm getting so frustrated just talking about this. It drives me bananas. The bottom line is, unless there's zero sales, there's always a buyer and seller. So be careful of naming it, okay? Now, I do get it because in the next point here, I want to talk about the shift of power. Because that's perhaps what's more appropriate to discuss here as agents who are intelligently thinking about this. We need to be thinking about, well, what does it mean if there's a change in the marketplace? Because clearly there is. And as I'm doing this podcast, there's no doubt there is. As somebody who not only does this in the locality, general markets, two different markets in Massachusetts. One is downtown Boston, where people have to live, and they are, and it's an economic powerhouse. And then you go south to Cape Cod, where it's a beautiful place to live, but you just don't have to be there. So they're very different dynamics when you're making that market, but everything's cooling right now. And that goes all the way out to the West Coast, where I coach some folks in Seattle, and that's been white hot with the dynamic there. And all of a sudden, there's a big jump in inventory. So sure, there's definitely a shift in power, because if you think about being a seller in somewhere like Seattle 6 months ago, well, there was less inventory, not no inventory. There's another one of those dangerous terms. There's no inventory. Really? Then how are all these sales going down while you're saying that? So yes, there's more inventory because as you get to the top of the peak and there's frenzied buying, because, really it's a psychology. So the buyers believe it's a seller's market because they're panic buying almost as if like what? Things don't go up and down. That's called business history. Just do a quick study. Markets bring prices up and then they bring them down. Capitalism 101. It's just how it works, right? They ebb and they flow, just like the stock market, no difference. But there is a shift in power. Because if you are a seller and you are priced right and prepared properly, as we always suggest, you make sure that you're in that zone, then you will have a lot of buyers because their psychology is, I got to have it. Oh my gosh, what happens, whether interest rates are creeping up or whatever the economic shift is that's making buyers feel that frenzy, sure, the seller has a little bit more power. But I'll tell you what, even in one of those frenzied markets, go ahead if you're a seller and overprice it, guess what happens? Nothing. Crickets. Okay, so what does that mean for the seller overpriced as the tide is rising with buyers? Now, what about when it comes down? Well, all the sellers who are up at the top, all of a sudden there's a perception that they've lost their power. No, they've lost their mind, right? They've lost their intelligent approach, or they're not getting it from us as real estate agents professionals, right? Not just telling them, hey, you better lower your price. It's a buyer's market out. No, showing them the metrics so that they can regain that power. See, if somebody on a scale of 1 to 10, and we've talked about that in this podcast, really needs to sell, then you're going to go in there with your math and show them, look, see, all these things, for example, in downtown Boston's Back Bay, they were going over asking price, all of them. Now, all of a sudden, you see this one here. This is a little bit longer days on market, and there's been no sale yet. So you need to price it right. In fact, I was studying the market in Boston very closely recently, and I noticed where somebody at the luxury level, and these were pretty hefty prices, but at the luxury level, one was on for 91 days to be specific with no offers. And the other in a multi-million-dollar category was gone in 2 weeks. And you scratch your head. But then when you go back and look at the math, and I know my math pretty well when it comes to pricing it right, I could see that the spread above the assessed value, that's something I measure against to see how far away it is from that or close. Well, of course, the one that was closer to its assessed value was gone in a week. And the other one that wasn't was $1 million over it. That's just too far. So you lose all your power when you have the incorrect strategy as a seller, no matter what the market is. So make your adjustments. So again, it's a shift in power. Nobody loses it, but there's a shift, so adjustments need to be made. And anybody who's intelligently approaching it, buyer or seller, you're always in a good spot. And that's our job, to be that person who guides them. So the next point there is, so how any seller, because I want to really emphasize to you, agents, don't sit there just on the buy side. Look, no offense to all my pure buyer agencies. I get it. I get the higher calling you feel to work just with buyers. That's great. I have no problem with this. But let me talk to everybody else who does both sides of the business. I just don't think you can be in this business as a both side agent and not focus on sellers first. It is the inventory. If you did not have any inventory to sell, then there would be no marketplace. So why not control some of that? And when I say control, you know what I mean? Why not build those seller relationships and guide them so you control the inventory, you control the strategy, right? And the delicious part of that is, what if you are able to attract direct buyers, whether they buy that one or they buy something else? It's just a fabulous way to increase your business. But as the seller, the guide there is to say, look, the reality of the market is it's cooling. Still, and here's the key point I made before, still, there's plenty of properties that are being sold. But those that are being sold are now leaning more heavily on what? A strategic approach. They're not guessing. They're getting good guidance from good agents, and they're being prepared and pricing it correctly. And if not, they're not afraid to make adjustments. They're not delusional that some white knight buyer is going to come along and overpay them. It doesn't happen. Okay. That's just not how markets work, right? I'm not saying that somebody that's in love with a property wouldn't pay a little bit of a premium. Sure. They have to have it. They feel like they don't want to lose it. They might pay a little bit more. But what are we talking about? 1%? 2%? So really, any seller who's property prepared has leverage even in a cooling market. And you want to get really good at giving that guidance and bold enough to lead them to understand that. Now, my last point here is that for us agents, and I said it a little bit before, but I really want to underline it double time. For agents, it's always a buyer's and a seller's market. You are a market maker. You are a business owner. I know some of you still don't get what I mean by that, but you don't go to a brokerage unless you're getting a salary, and there's very specific things for you to do. You are an independent contractor who owns a business. And it is your job to understand that in that business, there are two major lanes. One is buyer, one is seller. And if you can be healthily in both of those lanes, in other words, you have a way to bring in buyers, cultivate the relationship so that they buy something. If you have a way to bring in listings, prepare those sellers so that they're able to get top dollar and be properly prepared, then you're in two lanes at once. So for you, you can't sit here and let this whole conversation wag you around. You need to give proper guidance to both of these oriented people, meaning oriented towards buying, oriented towards selling, and be proper. Right? Work really hard to be a good strategic guide. Okay. So let me just chunk this up to summarize a very key point here. Although there are certainly shifts in the real estate agent market or the real estate market, agents should not be so easily lured into all this generalist speaking and all these talking points. Don't get sucked into that. It's nonsense. And all you have to do is look at any sale and say, maybe he's right. There was indeed a buyer and seller who came together and said, yes, I'll bite. There's definitely a shift in power. So you absolutely have to give the best seller advice as things get tougher to sell the property. Okay. Now remember, you can take immediate action and get started in the right direction with our free video course over at freeagentgift.com. And again, why I give that away, you might find it pretty rudimentary if you're a veteran, but I coach top producers. And I'm telling you, when they come to me, most of them, it's almost like they're washing ashore, exhausted, because nobody's ever taught them a proper wireframe so that they have no leverage because they're just doing more until they absolutely run out. So freeagentgift.com for you veterans, get over there, consider what I'm saying, take a step back and look at where your business needs leverage. If you're a rookie, look, you can take all the courses you want to get ready for the test. But then there's the reality of the business that you're supposed to be running from day one. So you need a wireframe to give you the proper perspective from the start. So get over there. It's free. It's digital. You can get it on demand and it's a lifetime access. Just sign up over there. All right. And of course, we also broadcast our live sales training on Facebook every Friday at 1 p.m. EDT. You can listen to me coaching live real agents and giving them the very specific advice for their inside sales calls on the phone, the challenges of negotiation, open house strategies, whatever it might be. Okay. Remember, Friday, 1 o'clock EDT. By the way, if you want to go look at past broadcasts, they're sitting there waiting for you over at the Realty Classroom Facebook page. So remember to like the page when you're over there so you won't miss any notifications. Hey, of course, if you like what you learned here today, and you've been listening along, then we would appreciate it if you'd share these insights with other entrepreneurial real estate agents just like you so that they can join us over here. It's just better to help people. It lifts you up. It lifts them up. And of course, don't forget to subscribe or follow us on whichever platform you're listening so that you don't miss out on any of the insights that we offer. And of course, thank you for listening. Really, comment. Contact me. Like Gary Vaynerchuk says in his social media world, your comments and your feedback and your interaction is like the air that I breathe. So get out there, interact with me, and I'll help you not only here, but wherever I find you out there on social. Okay? Thanks for being here. See you next time.
You've been listening to The Realty Classroom with Danny Griffin. Join us next time to continue learning how to build a smarter real estate agent business plan that helps you live a more fulfilled life.